Hello and welcome to the TwoFatBroker podcast or video cast. Today we're going to be getting some stuff off our chest about clients. Bit of
revenge. I know.
What's it? Counselling, bit cathartic. I'm Ben from Abu Dhabi.
Barney from Dubai.
And yes, welcome to our podcast. And you know we're gonna be a bit self-indulgent here and be mean and nice, to be honest, about clients.
We're here to help. Just keep that in mind.
Yeah.
We're here to help.
We're here maybe as educational if you are thinking about buying or leasing. What kind of client you are and what kind of client you'd like to be. So Barney, what's the best kind of client?
The best kind of client is a client who is prepared to sit down with you and discuss what they want, and not as agents. We are here to help you, and to help you we need to best understand what it is you want and what position you are in your process. And to do that we have to ask some not massively personal questions, but some questions that some people don't really seem comfortable in asking, like, are you a cash or a finance buyer? I'm a finance buyer. Great. How far down the process of organizing your finance are you? Don't worry, I've got it sorted. And then they want to cut that conversation off there. We ask because it's important to the process and potentially we can help you. So the best kind of client you could ever be is to be an open book, is to be prepared to answer the questions that you may find a little bit uncomfortable, but knowing that we're coming from a position of wanting to be able to help. That information in no way benefits us. It can't be used against you, but it is information we need to help you. So
what about people talking about their budgets? Do you find that they get a bit cagey about their budget?
My favorite one is my budget's open. My budget's unlimited. So then my favorite comeback to that is I've got a couple of houses for 400 million dirhams if you want to see those, and that is enough for them to say, no, I don't want to spend that kind of money. I want to spend 30 million dirhams or whatever. So just the best client you could ever be is one that's open.
But do people get funny about their budget? I mean, apart from saying it's open.
Yeah, I mean, some people aren't comfortable. Yeah, Brits, we don't really like talking about money, but that's on a personal level. If we need to talk about money to someone, then in a position like a banker or a real estate agent, we're quite open to do that. I find that some people, nationalities, don't like to discuss money or give away their financial position because it's seen as putting them in a position of weakness.
Or they'd like to appear richer than they really are.
So I'm going to show you stuff that you can't afford?
I mean, you've probably done that a fair few times in your life.
Stuff that you can't afford.
Well, yeah, that's true. But then I guess you're just wasting the client's time.
So tell me, Ben, what is your worst type of client?
You're really putting me on the spot.
Yeah, I didn't want to answer that one either.
Yeah. I mean, agents will often say, this one kind of client is the one that's unrealistic. But actually, I think those kind of clients are fine because you just say, if they're coming to you, I want like a 5-bed on the beach and my budget's 1 million dirhams, you kind of be like, ha, okay.
You're not my client anymore.
Good luck with that. Yeah. Good luck with that. But I think my worst kind of client is the one that gets angry at your advice, particularly buyers and sellers. And particularly sellers, when you say, this is the transactional price for your property, and here are all the comparables, and they get angry with you about that. Well, I paid this for it. How can you, ask me to sell it for that? This is ridiculous. I'm like, I'm not the market. It's in my interest to sell your property as expensively as possible because I get more commission. And this is just, something I'm telling you. It's not like I've insulted, your wife and mother, right? It's just my professional opinion. You may not agree with it, and that's fine. But they get angry with me for saying your property needs to sell at this price.
I, like many people, have a guilty pleasure of watching Selling Sunset, and not a lot on that you take away as a real estate agent to do anything to do with real estate. Yeah. Although the little bald fella said something quite apropos. He said, we're advisors. It's up to you whether you take our advice or not. And it's that simple. We'll give you the advice that you need to make the best decision. You're up to you if you make that decision or what decision you make, having had the information that we can give you as professionals.
Yeah, my father-in-law, my wife's father, she married her father. Basically, he's a real estate agent as well. He said
She married her father.
Oh yeah, people marry their mothers and their fathers and stuff. I mean, metaphorically speaking.
Okay.
And he said, what he says to clients, then he said, there are agents who will list it for you at that price, but I am not one. And I think that's also a nice thing to say. But yeah, we're advisors. But I mean, even if we're advising, like, don't get angry because it's not like what you want to hear. I mean, it's just bizarre. I've had even a couple of weeks ago, someone gave me a 1-star on Google review because we wouldn't list their units at the price he wanted to list them at. Because
that's real hatred to give you a 1-star, to go online just to give you a 1-star.
He only gives 1-star reviews, that guy. If he's not happy, you go into his profile, it's all ones. He's not a happy chappy. But we're advisors.
From a seller's
don't take it personally.
They might think you're trying to take them for a ride and short sell them something.
Maybe, but in the end, and that's a sad thing about the UAE is brokers are not respected as professional and knowledgeable because there are so many unprofessional, unknowledgeable brokers. So when I go to a lawyer and I say I've got this legal problem, and the lawyer gives me some advice, I'm like, yeah, that's probably pretty spot on. And not like give him a load of crap because it's not the advice that I want to hear. But people feel that brokers don't know what they're talking about, and tons, and you'll feel this as well, of buyers and sellers feel that they know better than we do, because, my friend sold this or my friend did that. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, my company sells, 60 units a year, trust what I'm saying to you.
Yeah.
But they don't trust us because the market is full of people who don't know what they're talking about. And so I understand that to a certain extent, but that's why we, try and give people third-party, evidence that what we're saying is actually correct.
So here you go. Here's another question which you raised. Have clients changed over the years? You've been open now 11 years?
No, 9.5.
9.5. Oh, you're coming up for your 10 years.
Yeah, we'll have a party.
I want to come.
Fine.
In the last 10 years, have clients changed at all?
I mean, there is a massive difference between clients in up and down markets, and you'll see this, and it makes perfect sense. Trying to get someone to sell when they've lost money on their investment is obviously like pulling teeth. And obviously, if someone's bought it at 2 million and you're saying it needs to sell at 1.5, and they want to sell, it's heartbreaking for them. And it's a tough market. And if you've got a buyer who really wants to buy, but he knows he can get a great deal and there's a lot of stock in the market, he's also a very sticky buyer. So transactions in a down market are really, really tough. In an up market, I mean, it's kind of ridiculous because the sellers are making money, they're happy to sell, this is great, I've made a load of cash, the buyers need to get on this train before it leaves, and everyone's like, no one's asking questions, and everyone's like got their finance in place, and it's sunny uphill, sunny uplands and rainbows.
Green lights all the way.
But in a down market, everyone is incentivized to negotiate harder, stick more, and transactions happen a lot more slowly.
I find sellers possibly more difficult to deal with in an up market. Buyers less so because obviously
they're more like to raise their price out.
Yeah, they're quite happy to hold because they don't want to sell too cheaply. So I find that sellers are probably a little bit more aggressive as buyers are in a down market. There's always one side to the transaction that the market is in their favour. And that's where we come in. It's up to us to obviously rationalise where you're getting in, where you're getting out, and helping you understand whether it is the right or the wrong decision for you at that time.
Yeah, what we see in hot market areas is we have to soft close the seller every time. The seller says, okay, I want to sell at 2 million, and say, okay, if I find someone for 2 million, will you definitely sell it? Yeah.
Get them 2 million.
Because as soon as 2 million comes in, they're like, well, now I want 2.1. You're like, come on, and we see that, I don't know if it's a feature of the market or maybe it happens all over the world, but that happens a lot when the market's going up, where they just kind of try to chase the market all the way to the top.
Yeah.
And then in the end, I don't know if you call that person not a real seller. If they're just, or do you go in, or
not
or
a
they
real
say,
seller right
I
now.
want 2 million, and
Well,
the
what
guy
they'll
comes
probably
in
be is
2.1.
they'll be the guy that chases the market all the way to the top, and as it starts to turn and go down the other side, the crest of the roller coaster, they're like, now I'll take 2, and it's 1.9. You know that trying to time the market is, you know, what a friend of mine who does, you know, a lot of market trading. Trying to time the market is not clever. Timing the market is the clever thing. You know, sell when you need to sell, and don't chase the market too much. If you feel like you're getting just rewards for the property that you own, then you're doing very well.
Well, I mean, sell for a reason, right? I mean, the worst kind of seller, I think, is one who doesn't have a reason to sell apart from making money. And then as he sees the market going up, he just wants to make more and more and more money. I mean, sell for a reason. Do you want to upgrade? Do you want to sell
for a
this and
number,
buy something else?
you know.
Do you want to sell and leave the country? Are you getting divorced? Like, you know, sell for a reason. You know, don't just try and, well, I mean, you can just try and cash out, but yeah.
Well, I mean, if you are cashing out, you sell for a number, right? You whether you tell your real estate agent or not, have a number in your mind, and when you get there, have the self-discipline to say, okay, that's the number I gave myself. That's where I'm checking out. You know, and that is the only way you will ever realize true asset value when you're selling in an upturn.
True. Do you prefer cash or mortgage buyers, Bon?
My sellers prefer cash. The truth of the matter is, it matters not a jot. To anyone.
Why do sellers prefer cash?
Because it's a quicker transaction.
But
There's
quicker
less
by like a
third
month,
party.
maybe.
No, I mean, look, you know, the quickest transaction I've ever done has been a week. Price agreed, no contract signed. They just met at the land department. Actually, it was.
But you've got to get your NOCs, right? Well,
It took a week to get the NOC. But you know, there's not a third party in the transaction who has any sway in the decision or the direction. A bank can not undervalue, but can say, okay, the property that you're buying is not worth what you think it's worth, so we're only going to give you a mortgage at X amount, and then the transaction collapses. You know, a lot of people prefer a transaction to be mano a mano, person to person, without a third party. That is the only rational reason to worry about a bank, and if that's your concern, then you know you're selling it above the market value. So naughty.
And if you take, you know, Dubai last year, you know, in some areas went up 25 to 40%. How can bank valuers keep up with that? I mean, surely that can only happen with cash buyers.
Yeah, no, I speak to a lot of valuers from a lot of the
changing day to day virtually.
It is, and you know, you have to be prepared to upgrade your price per square foot accordingly. You know, and luckily in an upmarket, there's a lot more transactional history for them to go on to be able to make more accurate decisions. But yeah, I mean, you know, it's not an easy job for them. But also, banks in an upmarket are much more happy to lend. So from that respect, it's not a difficult thing for them to broach. So do I prefer cash or mortgage? I prefer cash because it's just quicker. But if you're a seller, it shouldn't really bother you. The money is coming into your bank from Mars, from a bank, from the seller, from me, from whoever. The money is still the same number when it hits your bank account. So I wouldn't get too hung up on it.
Do you get many investors coming in wanting to buy like with maximum leverage, want to borrow as much as possible? I said the magic word there, leverage.
There's
leverage.
There's been a very notable sale recently where leverage was maximised. Predominantly, I don't really deal with cash buyers, with mortgage buyers, but not through any choice. The sphere that I operate in, predominantly people buy.
But some of your buyers, they buy for investment, right? Not necessarily to live in, or that they want to do
they'll buy cash.
They'll still buy cash.
Yeah. 10% of my transactions yearly are mortgaged. 10%.
That's nothing.
That's my personal transactions. My company's transactions probably doesn't even exceed that. Even then, the last year we sold a house for 103 million pure cash. Everything I've done so far this year, pure cash. Yeah,
103 million just sitting in your bank account.
I would imagine he had more.
Elon Musk's got 43 billion. So.
Not anymore. So Ben, how could we assist people to become better clients? Controversial. How can you help people make better decisions?
Well, I think it goes back to the point that you made in the beginning. You know, what we would say to all of our agents is make sure that you sit down with your client, have a coffee, have a chat with them, you know, about what it is that they want. Not just what it is they want, but, you know, the process that they're going through, you know, their timelines, their motivations, both buyers and sellers. We do it with buyers. We don't do it much with sellers. And that's, you know, again, part of a feature of the market, unfortunately, is sellers send their unit to 5 brokers and they don't want to have a coffee with 5 brokers to explain the same thing over and over again. We would love exclusivity with the seller so we can sit down and talk to them about, you know, the price and motivations and the process and educate them, because when people have more information, you know, when they're better informed, you know, they're more comfortable, they're happier, the process goes more smoothly. But if you're dealing with a seller who you've only spoken to twice on the phone, you know, wants to see if his unit's for sale, and the second time we've got a buyer, you know, let's start the negotiation. You haven't built that, you know, you haven't built that rapport with them. They're perhaps, you know, they've only bought once, maybe just from the developer. You know, they don't understand the process, and you know, things come as a surprise to them, and that snags up the whole system. So, you know, not to, you know, want to be a black hand holding a white hand, you know, in terms of a picture, but, you know, communication helps us understand each other better, like where we're coming from. So we would love to be able to just sit with more people and talk, you know, to them about the whole process.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it goes back to this is a very property-centric part of the world. Everybody has an opinion. Most people have property, you know, and everybody thinks that they possibly know. Not everybody. A lot of people possibly think they know best. But if you sit down and actually think about time spent, there is a slim chance that you know more about the real estate market than people who live and breathe it 6, 7 days a week. So don't be afraid to take on some advice. You know, we're here to help. That's literally our remit. We are success brokers. You only pay us if we get you what you want. So help us get you what you want, and we'll all come out smiling.
And again, people, you know, and I get called up by salespeople wanting to sell me something, and they want to sit and meet with me, and I don't want to sit and meet with them because they're going to waste my time. And I'm also slightly worried that I'll end up buying something that I don't want to buy. Right? And everyone has that fear, even though, you know, I understand the sales techniques and things like that. And I think people are genuinely also feel the same way. They're like, I don't want to sit with a broker because he's going to sell me something that I don't want to sell. I want to see this unit, you know, it cold and do my research and that kind of thing. And so, and again, going back to, you know, some of the things we said in podcasts in the past, get a referral. Get a referred broker. Know that, you know, Barney's been selling houses for 23 years. He knows what he's talking about. Get a referred broker who your friends worked with and that know that they're trustworthy, and, you know, are not going to try and sell you some piece of crap that, you know, you don't want. Although we always say in sales is you could never sell something, you know, to someone that they don't want, but people get nervous that you can. Yeah, just find someone you're comfortable with, that you have rapport with, sit with them, and, you know, on a no obligation basis, and understand more about what's going on, buying and selling.
I agree, 100%. One thing I would like to end on, and this is something that is dear to both of our hearts and every other real estate agent out there. If you've decided that you do not want to buy or sell your property, just tell us. Very simple. Just a little WhatsApp. Thanks, Barney. You've been great. Really appreciate everything. We've decided to put a pin in it for now. All it takes to ghost an agent is to toy with their hearts. We are humans. We are emotional beings.
Amount of times I've caught him crying.
Yeah, just a simple WhatsApp. Closure is very important. And thank you for listening. We have been the Two Fat Brokers. I've been Barney.
I've been Ben.
Thanks for joining us.
See you next time.